Today, the White House said that it was considering a request made by the Russian government to hand over to Russia for questioning America's former ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul. The White House and this president have done a lot to shock people over the last 72 hours. This is kind of at another level. The great national security reporter Spencer Ackerman rounded up response tonight from even some serving U.S. officials. Quote, current and former American diplomats are expressing disgust and horror over the White House's willingness to entertain permitting Russian officials to question a prominent former U.S. ambassador. One serving diplomat, so currently in the government, one serving diplomat who spoke on condition of anonymity said he was, quote, at an effing loss. And he didn't say effing. Quote, it's beyond disgraceful. It's fundamentally ignorant with regard to how we conduct diplomacy or what that means. Quote, by failing to reject the idea out of hand immediately and forcefully, Trump signaled that absolutely nothing is off limits when it comes to Putin. Again, this is a currently serving U.S. official saying about this threat, basically, that the White House is now making that they might hand over Mike McFaul to Russia, saying, quote, the president has first and foremost his interests at the top of his mind, as opposed to the government's. That is very clear over the past week and a half between bleeping, a word that starts with SH, bleeping on our NATO allies and kissing Putin's butt, but he didn't say butt. This is a serving U.S. diplomat. Quote, he cares more about himself than the nation and any of us who serve it. The diplomat continued, quote, either he's compromised by Putin or he's a word that starts with P, in which case he should grab himself. This is a serving U.S. official, a current U.S. official who just said that tonight. And there's more from America's former ambassador to Afghanistan, who's now president of the American Academy of Diplomacy. Quote, if the U.S. would make a former diplomat available for questioning by a foreign government without evidence of wrongdoing, that would be quite horrifying. Susan Rice, former national security advisor, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, calls it, quote, beyond outrageous. If the White House cannot defend and protect our diplomats like our service members, they are serving a hostile foreign power and not the American people. Former chief of staff at the State Department says that the White House refusing to disavow Putin on McFaul, refusing to stand up to Putin on McFaul, crosses a line for American diplomats, quote, from demoralizing to dangerous. I mean, literally, what the White House said today in response to a question about this Russian demand that the U.S. government hand Michael McFaul over to Putin, what the White House said in response to that was, quote, the president is going to meet with his team, and we'll let you know when we have an announcement on that. Oh, yeah, see, they're talking it over. President's meeting with his team because they need to do some thinking, some cogitating. They need to do a little chat over whether or not we're going to hand over an American ambassador to Putin so Putin can do whatever he wants to. Might do it. Got to talk about it. Putin asked, so it's not like we'll just say no, right? This is unbelievable. To the extent that this seems like a sort of marginal new development in a worrying week, this is not that. This is a qualitatively different thing, right? We have these abstract ideas and ideals about patriotism and not betraying your country, right? We have a sort of ominous but maybe vague worry about what it might mean for us as individual American citizens if there's somebody in power in our government who's subordinate to a hostile foreign government, right? It all sounds very ominous. It sounds very bad. But what's the real concrete nuts and bolts threat to any one of us? I mean, what could that really mean in our daily lives? Well, it could mean that people you know, Americans you know, are handed over to foreign dictators when those dictators ask. Not because that American has done anything wrong, not because there's any real allegations against him or her, but because that foreign dictator doesn't like that American, wants him or her eliminated. And that dictator holds sway over somebody in power in this country who he can order to do what he wants, and so an American gets handed over. And that's what it could mean. I mean, yes, this president could be trying to dissolve NATO. He could be trying to tear apart the European Union and all of America's most important international alliances. Yes, he can continue to do his best to attack and weaken American law enforcement and American intelligence. So, among other things, Russia can keep running whatever operations they want to keep running over here. I mean, we've been watching all these things that Russia wants, that this president has been working diligently to get done. But another one of the things he could start doing is handing over to Putin Americans who Putin wants dead. The president, the White House says, as of today, the president is meeting with his team about that. Talking it over, thinking about it. We will have the man in question, Ambassador Michael McFaul, here to respond in just a moment tonight.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.